Neeraj, thanks for taking some time with me. I really enjoyed your keynote today. Just the first thing I'd like to ask you is, do you think is technology driving change, or is the need for the change driving, in fact, the technology?
Sure. I think, as I spoke in the keynote as well, digital is about being pervasive. It's about fundamentally relooking at the way the business is done. Digital transformation is fundamentally a business driver change. However, the adoption of digital transformation is technology led. So it's technology which is leading the percolation of digital transformation. I can, maybe give an example to that. Take the case of, the resurgence of what we've seen with artificial intelligence, robotics, machine learning, and a lot of that. It was kind of dormant for the last few years. It's again kind of resurfaced, and it's resurfaced in a very digital avatar, if I can, kind of say that. How do you use a lot of the technologies that AI and robotics do to do two things? One is to significantly reduce the cost of the operators, the operating cost, because I think that's a key prerogative. How do you leverage this technology to bring about that change? And a lot of analytics can manifest itself, in automation, helping automate, helping do closed loop interactions, so that you move from a reactive, operations to a very predictive and a proactive situation. That's for instance one. Second example of analytics could be at the customer front end layer. So, for instance, how would you leverage analytics to map your behavior as a consumer? How would I figure out what is going to be your next need, and how do I cater to that next need? So it's all about leveraging technology to drive that change, the digital transformation within that organization.
And in terms of the technology, there is just so much out there now. How do operators approach change and take all of this into account?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. We've kind of worked very closely with a lot of the operators, not just driving and executing change, but also working with them to conceptualize and create the entire transformation journey for them. I can take a few examples. For instance, let me take the example of the work that we did with T-Mobile in the US. They had a very simple philosophy, Un-carrier. And what did they mean by Un-carrier? They basically wanted to leave all the legacy and all the shackles of legacy behind, and really reposition themselves in the market as one of those large web scale players in terms of the same digital experience. There were two approaches at that point in time. So they were already an existing incumbent with a large customer base. What they could have done was take the existing, if I may say, the IT stack or the OSS BSS, and try and do incremental changes into it. The other approach, a riskier approach, by telecommunication standards, was to start afresh, to say, okay, I will redesign and reimagine the entire paradigm, and I will start afresh. And they took the second option. It took them a while to get there, but I think they recently launched their latest digital store front end. 3 distinct layers. They fundamentally rechanged the architecture. They recalibrated and rewired their entire business processes to make it digital at the customer front end, which is omni-channel, the product and resource layer, which is the second, where you automate the product life cycle, how you're able to launch more and innovative products absolutely in real time, and the third as a backup, with the billing, charging, and how do you entire automate the piece, because the customer experience delivered at the front end to the customer is a function of what happens at the back end, how magically seamed your back end is.
Neeraj, thank you very much again for taking the time, and really enjoyed to chat.
Thank you, my pleasure.